United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. 1982. Part 3. Straits used for international navigation. Section 1. General Provisions. Article 34. Legal status of waters forming straits used for international navigation. 1. The regime of passage through straits used for international navigation established in this part shall not in other respects affect the legal status of the waters forming such straits or the exercise by the states bordering the straits of their sovereignty or jurisdiction over such waters and their airspace, bed and subsoil. 2. The sovereignty or jurisdiction of the states bordering the straits is exercised subject to this part and to other rules of international law. Article 35. Scope of this part. Nothing in this part affects a. Any areas of internal waters within a strait, except where the establishment of a strait baseline in accordance with the method set forth in Article 7 has the effect of enclosing as internal waters areas which had not previously been considered as such. b. The legal status of the waters beyond the territorial seas of states bordering straits as exclusive economic zones or high seas, or c. The legal regime in straits in which passage is regulated in whole or in part by long-standing international conventions in force specifically relating to such straits. Article 36. High seas routes or routes through exclusive economic zones. Through straits used for international navigation. This part does not apply to a strait used for international navigation if there exists through the strait a route through the high seas or through an exclusive economic zone of similar convenience with respect to navigational and hydrographical characteristics. In such routes, the other relevant parts of this convention, including the provisions regarding the freedoms of navigation and overflight, apply. Section 2. Transit passage. Article 37. Scope of this section. This section applies to straits which are used for international navigation between one part of the high seas or an exclusive economic zone and another part of the high seas or an exclusive economic zone. Article 38. Right of transit passage. 1. In straits referred to in Article 37, all ships and aircraft enjoy the right of transit passage, which shall not be impeded, except that, if the strait is formed by an island of a state bordering the strait and its mainland, transit passage shall not apply if there exists seaward of the island a route through the high seas or through an exclusive economic zone of similar convenience with respect to navigational and hydrographical characteristics. 2. Transit passage means the exercise in accordance with this part of the freedom of navigation and overflight solely for the purpose of continuous and expeditious transit of the strait between one part of the high seas or an exclusive economic zone and another part of the high seas or an exclusive economic zone. However, the requirement of continuous and expeditious transit does not preclude passage through the strait for the purpose of entering, leaving or returning from a state bordering the strait, subject to the conditions of entry to that state. 3. Any activity which is not an exercise of the right of transit passage through a strait remains subject to the other applicable provisions of this convention. Article 39. Duties of ships and aircraft during transit passage. 1. Ships and aircraft, while exercising the right of transit passage, shall a. Proceed without delay through or over the strait. b. Refrain from any threat or use of force against the sovereignty, territorial integrity or political independence of states bordering the strait, or in any other manner in violation of the principles of international law embodied in the Charter of the United Nations. c. Refrain from any activities other than those incident to their normal modes of continuous and expeditious transit unless rendered necessary by force majeure or by distress. d. Comply with other relevant provisions of this part. 2. Ships in transit passage shall a. Comply with generally accepted international regulations, procedures and practices for safety at sea, including the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea. b. Comply with generally accepted international regulations, procedures and practices for the prevention, reduction and control of pollution from ships. 3. Aircraft in transit passage shall a. Observe the rules of the air established by the International Civil Aviation Organization as they apply to civil aircraft. State aircraft will normally comply with such safety measures and will at all times operate with due regard for the safety of navigation. B. At all times monitor the radio frequency assigned by the competent internationally designated air traffic control authority or the appropriate international distress radio frequency. Article 40. Research and survey activities. During transit passage, foreign ships, including marine scientific research and hydrographic survey ships, may not carry out any research or survey activities without the prior authorization of the states bordering straits. Article 41. Sea lanes and traffic separation schemes in straits. Used for international navigation. 1. In conformity with this part, states bordering straits may designate sea lanes and prescribe traffic separation schemes for navigation in straits where necessary to promote the safe passage of ships. 2. Such states may, when circumstances require, and after giving due publicity thereto, substitute other sea lanes or traffic separation schemes for any sea lanes or traffic separation schemes previously designated or prescribed by them. 3. Such sea lanes and traffic separation schemes shall conform to generally accepted international regulations. 4. Before designating or substituting sea lanes or prescribing or substituting traffic separation schemes, states bordering straits shall refer proposals to the competent international organization with a view to their adoption. The organization may adopt only such sea lanes and traffic separation schemes as may be agreed with the states bordering the straits, after which the states may designate, prescribe or substitute them. 5. In respect of a strait where sea lanes or traffic separation schemes through the waters of two or more states bordering the strait are being proposed, the states concerned shall cooperate in formulating proposals in consultation with a competent international organization. 6. States bordering straits shall clearly indicate all sea lanes and traffic separation schemes designated or prescribed by them on charts to which due publicity shall be given. 7. Ships in transit passage shall respect applicable sea lanes and traffic separation schemes established in accordance with this article. Article 42. Laws and regulations of states bordering straits. Relating to transit passage. 1. Subject to the provisions of this section, states bordering straits may adopt laws and regulations relating to transit passage through straits, in respect of all or any of the following. A. The safety of navigation and the regulation of maritime traffic, as provided in Article 41. B. The prevention, reduction and control of pollution, by giving effect to applicable international regulations regarding the discharge of oil, oily waste and other noxious substances in the strait. C. With respect to fishing vessels, the prevention of fishing, including the stowage of fishing gear. D. The loading or unloading of any commodity, currency or person in contravention of the customs, fiscal, immigration or sanitary laws and regulations of states bordering straits. 2. Such laws and regulations shall not discriminate in form or in fact among foreign ships or in their application have the practical effect of denying, hampering or impairing the right of transit passage as defined in this section. 3. States bordering straits shall give due publicity to all such laws and regulations. 4. Foreign ships exercising the right of transit passage shall comply with such laws and regulations. 5. The flag state of a ship or the state of registry of an aircraft entitled to sovereign immunity which acts in a manner contrary to such laws and regulations or other provisions of this part shall bear international responsibility for any loss or damage which results to states bordering straits. Article 43. Navigational and safety aids and other improvements. And the prevention, reduction and control of pollution. User states and states bordering a strait should by agreement cooperate. A. In the establishment and maintenance in a strait of necessary navigational and safety aids or other improvements in aid of international navigation, and B. For the prevention, reduction and control of pollution from ships. Article 44. Duties of states bordering straits. States bordering straits shall not hamper transit passage and shall give appropriate publicity to any danger to navigation or overflight within or over the strait of which they have knowledge. There shall be no suspension of transit passage. Section 3. Innocent passage. Article 45. Innocent passage. 1. The regime of innocent passage, in accordance with Part 2, Section 3, shall apply in straits used for international navigation. A. Excluded from the application of the regime of transit passage under Article 38, Paragraph 1, or B. Between a part of the high seas or an exclusive economic zone and the territorial sea of a foreign state. 2. There shall be no suspension of innocent passage through such straits. To be continued.